And when you get the notification, just go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay. Go. All right. So again, I'm going to be arguing that companies should find the most cost-efficient means to produce goods and services. And where's this video? Let me get the link. Copy that. Paste it. And here. Okay. So, this is it. Okay. Yes. So there's a lot of terminology. Generally, it seems that the topic of business is something to be studied. Seems pretty complicated in terms of the details, but not so complicated in terms of the concepts. So there's a lot of terminology, like many other fields. Here's just a few. We have allocative efficiency. I'm sure you can read that. So the two important, or the most important terms here are the cost efficiency and the outsourcing. So the cost efficiency is basically the ratio of the actual production cost to what the optimal production cost should be. Okay? And then outsourcing is employing third parties to achieve various tasks, basically outsourcing labor at various levels. Okay. So efficiency, finding the most efficient way to produce goods can impact and be impacted by other efficiencies. So we have the production efficiency, then there's also like the overall operating efficiency. There's actually a lot of different efficiencies that are measured, and they can all interact with each other. Okay, so for example, the allocative efficiency and the productive efficiency. A business could choose to try to optimize one over the other, or try to optimize both of them at the same time. And when they do that, it's called economic efficiency. And it's about optimization. That's basically what business is all about, maximizing profits, which is optimization. And so it's just applying solutions to optimize, solutions to problems of optimization. So by finding more efficient ways of producing goods and services, it can increase the accessibility. And it does this by, there's two major ways that businesses can maximize their profits. And the different situations are different. So you can maximize the volume of sales and lower the price, okay? And then you make more money in those scenarios by large volume, low price sales than you could by having low volume, high price sales. So a lot of those solutions are Michael, there's one optimal solution. And so sometimes you want to sell as much product as you can. And to do that, you have to lower the price as low as you can, especially when there's competition. And so this makes things more accessible. So I was trying to avoid pointing to real-world examples because I'm trying to avoid the argument that it is this way already, and therefore it should be this way. And I think that is, I want to avoid arguing that way. Okay. I want to argue another way. Okay, so, but I have to give some examples to illustrate the point. And so computers is an example. Computers started out being very expensive to produce. Only businesses could afford them. But through improving the efficiency, the cost efficiency of production, one part of this being outsourcing the labor, it made computers cheap enough that the average person could afford to buy a computer. So this is one example of improving the accessibility of products, improving the quality of life. We now have computers in our pockets that we can do many things with, calculators, call people, these things. Improves quality of life. Can also lead to improvements in legislation. Can motivate new laws. So yeah, you might have like a company that was dumping toxic chemicals into a river, and then this motivates the formation of legislation to protect people that then restricts the companies from dumping chemicals. So now they have to find another way to deal with the chemicals, which can lead to something like recycling. And then the objective is to maximize profits. So there's motivation there to find a way to make recycling profitable, which is exactly what happened. So can motivate new laws, and the new laws can then sometimes generate new opportunities from trying to find the most cost-efficient means to produce goods. Can also motivate the development of other fields like material science. In that example of recycling, that's applicable there. Okay. And then another example is collaboration between NASA and SpaceX. So NASA is able to do some things that businesses can't do. So businesses can't justify taking a huge risk with little chance of having financial returns, whereas government agencies can do this. So NASA explores the frontiers. NASA sends people to the moon, whereas a business could not do that. At least not pioneer that. So NASA pioneers that, does it first. Now businesses can come in behind these government agencies and do what they do best, which is doing things more efficiently, doing more with less. Like this. Yeah. So counter-argument is that businesses should provide employment to the citizens of the host, not host country, citizens of the country of which that company belongs. So, for example, a Turkish company should hire Turkish citizens over outsourcing the labor as basically social responsibility. Okay. So it's very complicated, the economy. One of the benefits I previously mentioned about computers becoming more available because of outsourcing labor, exactly counter-argument to this. It's not, so cost efficiency is not necessarily mutually exclusive of other concerns. I had a point in there that I forgot about. Anyway, so what is beneficial to one society may be harmful to another. So going back to the computers example, the jobs that were lost in producing those computers in America and went to China helped the Chinese economy develop. So it's beneficial for their economy overall, whereas it was harmful, in some ways harmful to the American economy, but in other ways actually beneficial because it made these products more accessible, improving quality of life. Okay. So another example is that by outsourcing labor to China to produce goods at a lower cost, we have products that are much more affordable now. For example, microscopes. So I got myself 2 microscopes that would have otherwise cost several $1,000s. But because these companies outsource to, say, China for the labor, they can be sold at, say, $200, which makes it much more affordable, allowing people to be home scientists and to contribute to the body of knowledge. So there can be other benefits. Okay, so my conclusion, so optimizing cost efficiency is part of the economic theory, as I was trying to present that video that demonstrates that. Optimizing the cost efficiency does not necessarily result in decreasing jobs for citizens, though it can. Optimizing the cost efficiency can be far-reaching in both benefits and in harm, as again, I said, it can be complicated. The economy overall is complicated. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Okay, so it's up to us to mitigate the harm. So businesses trying to optimize the profits, trying to get the most profits that they can lead to bad things, such as dumping chemicals in rivers. And we don't, as consumers or as citizens, don't want that kind of harm. So it is up to us to force these businesses to comply, to do what is necessary to keep us safe. So the responsibility should be on the consumers to control the businesses and to control them through legislation, through government. That's what I'm arguing. Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
All right. Let's see. So, I was going to see if anybody else had any other questions first. Newman made a couple of comments there. One thing I was wondering. So one thing that came to my mind was, and I don't know if maybe you touched on this or not. I didn't catch it if you did. But so it's about maximizing profits, but what about, because the one argument I keep hearing for people who, in my home country, in America, you got to buy American is kind of the thing there for a lot of people. And what they'll do is they'll often, if a company is outsourcing, people may call for boycotts of that company or something like that. So does that need to be taken into account in terms of the potential cost efficiency, and how would you go about calculating the potential risk of loss of customer base due to something like that, where if somebody says a company gets a bad reputation based on that and they may lose customer base? Does that make sense?
I think it does. Historically, some businesses have been sensitive to that. They have considered their reputation and have done those kind of calculations. The details of the calculations, I don't know, but I do know that some businesses have considered their reputation, and that other businesses don't consider reputation. Different businesses are different, just like there are different people with their different strengths and weaknesses. They don't all do the same thing. They don't all do what they should do or shouldn't do. So again, it's complicated. There's a lot of businesses, a lot of people out there. So I forget another point you were talking about. So there was social responsibility. I'm still sharing my screen, right? Okay. Actually, I'll just copy this link. So here's this thing I'm looking at now. Harvard Law Forum. It's talking about like hybrid goals of businesses involving doing social good as well as maximizing profits. And it seems like what they are arguing is that you can have these two goals that are coupled. They're simultaneous goals. And I would argue that is not entirely true. if you think about businesses as being sort of organisms in an environment subject to selection pressures, like evolution, if a business doesn't make enough profits, it goes out of business, right? It doesn't have to necessarily do social good in order to make enough profits to stay in business. So I would say it's more like doing social good would be not coupled to the financial gain objective, but is basically opportunistic. As long as the business can stay in business, there is the opportunity to do social good. So that I would counter argue that from their point. And I'm going to post that link right here, that article. Did that address your question?
Yes, it did. And you did have one question in there by Newman. He asked the question there.
Okay. Imperialism. So imperialism, isn't that a form of government rather than economy? Capitalism is the economy. Democracy versus imperialism. And America's not imperial. That would be like Britain. Britain was imperial, if I understand it right. I don't know if that addressed the question or not. Okay. Or did I just not understand the question?
All right. I'm assuming by him not responding that may have answered the question. So.
No, I hope. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on to OSMA or a volunteer? No. And I will go ahead and end the recording.